Hi, I'm David Marquet, author of Turn the Ship Around, and I'd like to introduce Andy Worshek as an intent-based leadership speaker. Andy served with me on board the USS Santa Fe and was critical on turning that ship around. He knows intimately how to create intent-based leadership organizations from the middle of the organization. Andy then went on to be the chief of the boat, which is essentially the enlisted captain on another submarine, where he did it again, and then as the head of HR at an accounting firm in Wyoming. Here's Andy.
I'd like to take you into a dynamic work environment where everybody is in control of what they're doing. Nobody's waiting for an order for the next thing to happen. What you're looking at is a SEAL team arriving on board the Santa Fe. They're fast roping down the helicopter. The guys in orange are the ship's crew. My job would have been the guy at the hatch there helping the SEAL team get down on board. Nobody's waiting to be told what to do. There's no time. And even if we wanted to have the captain tell us what to do, if you've ever been that close to a helicopter, you know how loud that is. Very difficult to hear. And this is the captain's view. The captain was up in the bridge, the sail of the submarine, and that's what he saw. So we couldn't wait for an order. We had to have the professional technical competence of what we were doing and an understanding of the mission to carry out what we were doing. And that is what intent-based leadership is all about. We did have people on board the submarine that just wanted to be told what to do. David had carte blanche. Replace who you want to replace on the crew. If you've got somebody who's caustic and they're not doing what you need to do, you have authority, captain, to replace them. How many do you think we replaced? Zero. The very same crew that manned the Enron of submarines a year later was the best crew in the Pacific Fleet, and 2 years later was the best crew in the United States Navy. The very same people. I'm standing in the presence of excellence and heroes that maybe you haven't seen from some of these people yet. When you stop telling people what to do, that's the moment that you start developing leaders. As long as you're telling them what to do, they're only waiting for you to tell them what to do. The onus for the mistake still rests on your shoulders. Those were David's senior chiefs, the middle management guys. That's John Larson, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth in the picture, a couple of other senior chiefs. They refer to us as the senior chief mafia. We executed the things that needed to happen on board the submarine. But with the I intend to, the psychological ownership shifted to our shoulders. And it was incredibly powerful. Empowerment, I'll use the word a couple times, but it's a different E word that we used on the submarine. And we called it emancipation. When David did that with us and gave us the control to do the things that we knew that we needed to do, it was like somebody came in and cut the chains free. And we were freed up to go do what we needed to do. Dr. Covey heard what was happening, wrote about us in the 8th Habit, contacted the Navy and said, I'd like to go out and observe what is happening on the Santa Fe. So we took Dr. Covey to sea for a day. We took him from Oahu to Maui. This is where we anchored off of Maui. At the end of the day, Captain Marquet and Dr. Covey were sitting up there on the top discussing the day's events. And the conversation went something like this. Dr. Covey told David, look, I have figured out what you guys are doing. I've been on board for 8 hours. I've watched your chiefs come to your officers and say, I intend to do this. I've watched your officers come to you and say, I intend to do this. In fact, I saw some of your junior sailors go to their chief and say, I intend to. Sometimes they said, this is what I see. Sometimes they said, this is what I think. And David and Dr. Covey stitched together what we now call the ladder of leadership. and they had the 6 steps. Tell me what to do. I see, I think, I would like to, I intend to, and I've done. Here's how we got to this point on Santa Fe. And I told you, we run these drills, right? We break things, we set things on fire, we invite water to come into the people tank, all things that would be bad so we can practice doing them. And putting out fires is one of the things that we have to do on a submarine because how many fire escapes do you think we had? 600 feet beneath the ocean? Yeah, 0. There's nowhere to go. If you don't put the fire out within a certain amount of seconds, everybody dies. We couldn't get the hose there on time, and we were sitting down trying to figure out what was going wrong. What happened? Why were we slow? Why were we late? And here's how it went. Well, they put the hose up wrong, and they didn't change the batteries on the thermal imager. I had to change the batteries, and they hung up my protective suit in the wrong place. I had to find that. And they misplaced and out of frustration, David said, stop. There's no they on Santa Fe. And it was really cool because it rhymed. How do you forget that one? And the word was erased from our vocabulary. And the very next day, exactly, nothing happened. And 2 days later, I was standing with the captain and he was talking to the engineer about equipment that they were repairing. And the engineer started to talk about the supply department and he started to say, and he stopped and he said, we haven't been able to acquire their part yet. And then a week or 2 later, we heard young sailors refer to the chiefs as we. And then we heard the chiefs talk about the officers as we. And then we heard the weapons department talk about the engineering department as we. And it's like they was gone. About 9-10 months after we made this rule on board the Santa Fe, we had inspectors down. And the senior officer on board sat down with the captain and he said, David, I have never seen a culture of teamwork like what you have on the Santa Fe. And David was like, what are you talking about? We don't have a culture of teamwork. We have a rule. And the rule is there's no they on the Santa Fe. You can't refer to anybody else as they. It's we. It's not those guys in accounting. It's not those guys in marketing. It's not those guys in claims. It's we. And David said, we don't have a culture of teamwork. We have a rule. And then the light bulb went off. That rule resulted in a culture of teamwork that other people in the submarine force had never seen before. We had guys that would normally not spend time together off the ship. When we pulled in, they were together all the time. Weapons guys with engineering guys, supply guys with navigation guys. All these people who were always pointing the finger at each other were now we. And we're this strongest core group. The culture had changed so significantly that the man in the lower right corner, if you have the longest hair in your pair, I want you to share with your partner something very significant that's going on in your life right now. And of course, that's going to depend on what your relationship is with that person. But I want you to share, maybe you're heartbroken about Carolina not winning the Super Bowl. I don't know. But I want you to share with them something important that's happening in your life right now. And that's the long-haired person. If you're the short-haired person, here's your directions. I want you to ignore them. I want you to play with your phone, read the screen, read your workbook. I don't care what you do as long as you ignore them. Okay. And then after 30 seconds, we'll swap roles. Then the short hair will tell their story, and the long hair, you get to ignore them. In one word, what did it feel like when you were telling your story and you were being ignored? Just one word. What did it feel like? Here's the lesson. This is how you felt in an exercise. An exercise where you knew that you were going to be ignored. In fact, you knew so well because you were, if you were the second person, you were planning already how to ignore them. But this is how we feel when we're not listened to. How do things go at work? When everything is going perfectly and you have all the free time in the world, that's when your people come to you with issues, right? I mean, that's how it worked for me on a submarine. When we weren't doing anything, that's when my sailors would have their issues, and they would come in, Chief, can I talk to you? That's how it works, right? No, it's when we are the busiest is when people bring issues to us. And we might be punching out 15 emails because the sales, what was the record that you guys just said?
4,762.
It's when you're busy like that is when people come in with problems, and we're working away on that. And Charlie, you're up front, so you get picked on, sorry. Charlie comes in. The BMW? All right. The Auburn fan problem. They pay people at Auburn to go to school there. So she might be able to take care of you. You guys knew that was coming when she rogered up. Submariner. Sorry, ma'am. No, absolutely not. No, we don't lie. But here's how it works. Charlie's going to come in and he's going to say, hey, Andy, I need to talk to you. And I'm going to, go ahead, Charlie, what do you got? I'm just doing some emails, and Charlie has already started with the, really? I'm trying to talk to you. No, go, come on, Charlie, I can talk to you and do this. And this is how Charlie feels. And then he goes back out to wherever it might be that he works, feeling like that. And then he goes home. Maybe his spouse is from Auburn, I don't know. He wishes? Yeah. All right. This whole Auburn thing's going to get me in trouble all day. I see it coming. But we take those feelings home. We take that frustration home to our families, to our pets, to our friends. All because we couldn't take the time to shut the screen on the laptop and turn our attention to what Charlie's working on or what he's dealing with.